Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of The Big Shift, where we deliver the most raw, riveting content. Today we're going to go to the UK, guys, and we're going to talk about the UK's top mobsters, top gangsters, top villains. I've got someone here today, he's a big name. You know, he spent over 40 years in organised crime, went to many of the UK's most maximum security prisons and seen unbelievable things there, guys. He was a hitman himself and many staff. He was even killed himself. This is an unbelievable story of a man also who travelled through this darkness, but also turned his life around. Coming next. Hi guys, and welcome to tuning in today. Got a wonderful story today for you with Yammy B, one of the UK's most notorious villains, certainly. We are now, my media company has signed a worldwide TV deal now. So our content is going to be global, guys. We're talking a 2 billion audience. We're going to be on places like Apple, Sony, Netflix, Amazon, all this coming soon just for you. A lot of exciting things coming up. I'll keep you posted with that, guys. Now, today, my special guest, a friend of mine from back in the day, it has to be said, is Yammy B. Yammy, how are you doing?
Really nice to be here with you again, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, you know a lot of these people, there were a lot of murders outside by guys. Even people set up, certain setup, and then they would come in, of course, there'd be friction over that. And this stuff goes right the way back. You know, we're talking about certain cities. Tell us about some of them that you would know. For instance, it was a couple for the audience, so they get a bit more of an understanding about what we're really talking about here.
Are we talking about the gang stuff again, Steve, and beef from outside?
We're talking about murders outside. I've got many.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
You know,
so, Stephen,
from outside that would have come in, and these stuff go on for decades.
Decades, Steve. Even our lot back in the day, Steve, when it was serious, just because you met him once, you know, because we know, there's people that have died along the way, and you don't have to know the person that's hurt in that family or whatever, Steve, or who their cousins and brothers. There's a lot of homework to do, because when they turn up in prison, they're so hurt that they're looking for you. And no matter where you go, whatever you do, what's the forefront of their mind? Remember, when there's loss of life, emotions are heightened and really become more serious, Steve. But in all the cities, from Liverpool to Manchester, from Birmingham to Johnny's and the Burgers, the Cheetah Mill, the Moss Side, all that stuff as well, and Wivenshaw, as well as that Liverpool gang culture down there. Birmingham was really tough. A lot of bodies lost for unnecessary reasons as well, which I've talked about this morning as well, with the gangs down there. And then you move round to Nottingham, you move round back to London, Steve, and you see that jail isn't a hiding place no more. You can't just disappear in there. But there's so much going on there now that the beefs are so quick and coming faster that instead of having beef where you're looking for one man, these lot have got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different people to look out for every day. So that's the change as well, Steve. I think it's a generation lost. But we're not going to give up, Steve. We're going to find different solutions and different ways of doing stuff in the future to help the cause, so that you do your bird. And when you go and do your time, it's a rehabilitation thing. And then you're coming out, hopefully, to break away from that life early before it carries on and goes bonkers, basically.
Yeah, for those of us who have lived this life, it's about saving life. It's about saving life and creating futures. Now, on that, I want to just go back and I want to ask you, look, now I know this question and there are so many lists here as well. But who was just give us two, Yammy, from your point of view, your experience, your history. Who was the two most dangerous guys you think you ever met, whether this is inside or outside? Who was they?
You see, from the outside, Steve, onto the inside, like I was captured by criminal life and some of the things I'd heard about and saw with my own eyes. But in reality, the most dangerous men, and I mean there are so many in the Cat A, Steve. But who made me, who could I say made me a bit frightened, a bit weary? It was so cold and thing, but they wouldn't be gangsters to that, because a lot of the gangsters, supposedly, who I met, were cool, easygoing guys. But the real mental cases, the ones that kill women and the ones that, you know, shoot a little baby or, you know, those kind of things at random and don't have no feelings towards it at all, you fear them a little bit, you know, once you're in there. But name calling on one or two, Steve, the most fearsome two men that I ever met. Wood. Wow. It's a tough one, Steve. I don't know if I'm allowed to call their names, Steve. But one's from South London and one's from North London. And there's another one from East London. But I'll have to get permission first, big man.
Look, that's fine. You know, I understand that. I get that. I really do. And look, you know, you make a point when you're saying about, because there are some, you know, I should see it in the eyes, you know, there are a lot of levels of guys here of criminality as well as violence, ferocious violence that we're talking about here, right? And, but then you have your people who, you know, they stab you in the back and run, right? These are just crazy guys, right? No rhyme or reason. And these guys have to be more dangerous than someone who has some kind of reason, right? So I get that. So look, tell us about, have you got any instance, you know, of someone you feel comfortable to talk about, you know, a big name of a story, a couple of stories that can be funny, that can be crazy or violent, that you see on your journey that you feel comfortable to talk about, Yammy?
I've seen some major figures, you know, Steve, and I like certain styles, because it's not all the great ones, allegedly, and all the violent ones that commit the acts of violence on their own. You see what I mean? There's others that will go and do it for them. And the way that they do it, you know, the couple that I'm thinking about is they do it so differently, if you get what I mean. All right, you said that, you get away with that. You think I've let it get away, but hold on, I'm getting you done. So, you know, in that way, the skills and being the big man in that life, you know, sometimes it's not about the person who runs up and does the job themselves, really. I know what you mean, Steve. But I'm a bit brain dead, to be honest. Well, I'm thinking of incidents, and I'm thinking, yeah, but I might not be allowed to say that bit. You see what I mean? But there's a couple that spring to mind, and a couple in London, one from Manchester, one from Liverpool, one from Birmingham, you know, a few from elsewhere, Steve. But nah, me and you have met many. They're all in the papers, the newspapers, allegedly, you know, from shooting this to shooting that to shooting that, you know. If I was to say, you know, appeals could be going on, others would want to be, they don't want to be remembered for that. But, you know, you come up and you say what you saw about them while you was in jail. You see what I mean? To see if they were, what all those things that are said about them are actually right. And I've got to be honest, I have to wonder sometimes, Steve, you know, but there's no smoke without fire for some of it. Because you know as well as I do that you could do one murder or one real serious act of violence. All of a sudden your name's under, you know, you've got a lot there. But I'll tell you, Wayne Oren, rest in peace. He was a great geezer. Steve, game as well. Not scared of nobody. Many men feared him. Trust me. He's one of the dark horses for me, Steve. Sad end there, of course. You talk to me, brother.
Yeah, Wayne, very close to home, Wayne was.
Yeah.
In our circles.
Yeah.
May rest in peace. That was a terrible ending, you know, for Wayne and that journey. You know, Wayne, of course, was public enemy #1 here at one time. You know, he shot many police officers and different stuff. Had him down for many murders, Wayne, you know. I knew Wayne. Wayne was very close to a lot of people around me as well at that time. God rest his soul. But so look, in the interviews as well, Yammy, I like to, this is more than just about the violence or things.
Yeah.
People want this content, and that's fine. They need to understand the whole picture. But I like to get more behind it, excuse me, and into the humanness of it. So tell me what you think about that life now. And you served over. You've been in there all your life, Yam. You know, this is the longest you've ever been out now. I think it's a year. You've been away pretty much all your life, Yam, in these places, all right?
Yeah.
Or in organised criminal circles, right? What do you think about that life now?
To be honest, Steve, I'm a bit upset with myself for not recognising things a bit earlier, but nothing's before its time, of course. After dying and being paralysed, you get to understand things a little bit more about yourself. But it's more the case, Steve, I can't. For my crimes, burglaries, robberies, and running about like a nutcase, and blah, blah, blah. It wasn't like I was fixed, Steve. I knew the rights from wrong. But I basically saw it that I didn't care. I was almost suicidal kamikaze pilot every day. But now I think, what a waste of time. And I tore up that book about the moral code of the street and what it's made to look like. And I'm proper because I don't do this and I don't do that. I only do this bit. And that's, you know, I could just wipe you out kind of thing. So that means that you're all right, does it? Like, it means that everybody else is who does all the other things. Nah, Steve. Not for me, Steve. Just a complete wasted life. And if you've got any kind of conscience, in the end, you're going to have to lie down and wonder where it all went wrong and all the people that you've harmed along the years. During, whether they're known to you or not known to you, it's going to come up in fountain loads, and it's a lot. And for the brain, I've seen a lot of big men go mad over the kind of things that are, you know, that are upsetting their minds. Because whatever anyone says, unless you're a cold-hearted, calculating, proper killer, you know, everybody's got to have regrets about tossing their life away and doing serious violence and going to jail and lying down there to think about it all, and then to say, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that. All right, occasionally we get the one say, I'm glad I did that and I'll do my time. But honestly, Steve, from the bottom of my heart, it was a mug's game. I just looked up to people. I wanted to be like people. I wanted to be part of people. I wanted to belong to something because I didn't have nobody out there at that time. And I was basically a crowd pleaser, Steve. For whatever comes that around with that, you know, that the more crowd there is there, the more hyped up I get, and the worse I'm going to respond for bad reasons. You see what I mean, Steve? It's almost like a little kid, really, boy. You know.
Look. What was the price for that now? Do you feel it's the price now for this life? Do you? Yeah, man.
Yeah.
What was the price for this?
Yeah, the price I paid, Steve, was obviously my life and certain behaviours and certain things and guilt and shame over some of the stuff that I did outside to people that I didn't really know, you know, that kind of thing. But now, sorry, Steve, answer that last bit of the question again. What did you just say?
What was the price to you?
Yeah, the price. Sorry, Steve.
With this life.
No, so me, life skills, Steve. And with the injuries now, sometimes I don't know where I'm going, boy. That's the bottom line of it. I can't use my fingers properly. I can't use my toes. You know, I can't you know, I'm peaceful now because I'm with God a lot. But Steve, I'm still thinking wasted life. They didn't mean anything in there. The price I'm paying today is I need a lot of help of people for computers and things. And, you know, not injuries aside, Steve. You know, I still need help with loads of stuff, how to fill out this form, what do these new bits mean? What does that mean to cook, to wash, to look after yourself properly, physically and mentally? Steve, there's many, many prices we have to pay. The only thing I'm grateful for is that I'm here to tell the story, to make amends and help people and show them that life.
Yeah, so when you really think, you know, if you transport yourself back to the middle of it, when it was like the dark days, right? What was the human part of you then, really, when you get down to it?
The human part for me, Steve, is to try and do everything clinically and try and nick what I'm nicking or rob what I'm robbing without serious violence, right? So a lot of my violence came against criminals when I was violent. In my crimes, there's not a lot of violence.
You were happy to use violence, Yammy?
Yeah, I was happy.
At the drop of a hat, right?
Yeah. Yep, Steve. Yeah, 100%.
Many
Steve.
times, repeatedly, all the way through.
Repeatedly. Yeah. Yeah.
So what's this part? What's this part of you against the humanness?
Yeah. So, Steve, a very good question, because then I have to put 10% of the human side. They're saying what you're about to do, Yammy, is hurt somebody. And what you're about to do is hurt somebody because you want that, or somebody's offering you this, and he's your friend and for life, and you look up to him as a notorious gangster, I'll do anything for you. Don't worry. I don't even want no payment. Do you see what I mean? But in the acts of when you're setting off to do it, the overriding feeling of pleasing your peers more than the human side of you, you go, I used to do things like this, Steve. I go, all right, sorry, but I have to. Do you see what I mean? You didn't have to, Yammy. But in your mind, at the time, with the circumstances, with the survival skills that I needed at that time, I thought it was the right way to respond, Steve, and to make people fear me too. So you're kind of hiding as well, aren't you?
And let's go into that a bit, Yam, because look, it has to be said, right? And we've come all the way through this, and to some people, it has to be said out there, yeah. Normal people, for what you just said there, look, sorry, but I've got to stab you 4 times. I'm going to cut your throat.
It's true.
Let's say this guy is a maniac, right?
Yeah, he is.
What kind of craziness is this? These are people I definitely want to stay away from, because I wouldn't know what they're going to do next. If he's going to smile while he sticks a knife in my back and then tell me sorry, this is a lunatic, right?
I know.
What do you say to that?
I'll say that I was a lunatic, Steve. That's what I'm saying. Because all the reasons why I did things weren't for the benefit of me, like to make me feel better about myself. There was always somebody else involved with something, or there have to be a kick up the backside for me to do it. It's not something that I would have come out with every morning and gone, right, it's only because of the cycle with drugs and the mix-ups and watching out every day. When you know you've got loads of enemies, it's no good being on your own, hiding in a cell. They'll be thinking that you're weak. So when you're out there on the front page every day and you know you've got beef here, beef there, they know that you're still up for it. There's nothing worse for everybody than a man that's up for it, because you've got to be up for it too, in which case both of you could get cut and stabbed. But what I'm saying, Steve, I was a lunatic. Like, not that kind of lunatic, like as in mental health. There's different barriers. It's like saying, we're in the jungle, we're on the yard, he's got a knife, he's coming for you, Yammy. You want that, he wants this. It could be you next. It could be him. There's so many reasons for it, Steve. But on the occasions when I've picked up a tool, it's quite rightly to say that I was a raving nutter, because I was doing it and doing it half-heartedly, but knowing that I have to do some kind of damage to win the applause over there, so they hire me again and I get what I want. Do you see what I mean, Steve? Look,
these are the real questions, Jan. You know that, because it goes right to the heart of it, and then we see what's really going on with this stuff. If we don't see what's really playing itself out, then we're not going to be able to solve it.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, look, it's do or die, kill or be killed, right? That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more different influences and leverage going on here. In a sense, you're between the devil and the deep blue. Is this what you're saying?
Yeah, Steve. So you're almost like outside, Steve. I've never really done real serious violence, if you like. I mean, on one person. If we're talking that one-on-one thing, unnecessarily tortured, blah, blah. I've never really had the stomach in my crimes to really reach that kind of level. All right, showing a gun is frightening enough, Steve. I'm talking physically and harming people for money. I never really had that bit in me to do my crimes, even in my worst states. But in prison, Steve, when I felt all was lost, especially them days when you was with me, I just threw the towel in, basically. But there were a lot of men I saved as well, not trying to make up the difference from some of the violence that I showed. But I worked out with the hierarchy in prison, Steve, and all the mix-ups that go in there. Sometimes I wonder, like you do, Steve, when you don't, even if you go quiet, even if you don't show fear, they will be flocking. Trust me, my way of doing it all and dealing with it, because I was at risk of serious harm every day due to my own fault, was to come out on the battlefield and make the war commence. Because why? I can't live in peace. I can't lie on my bed, just be a normal prisoner and take my time out to study. I'm always wondering what's going outside there on the landing, Steve. Because if you miss, you blink, you're lost. Do you see what I mean? And in my view, for all those years, especially in the Cat A's, Steve, you have to be on serious point when you're doing bad stuff. And I acknowledge it, Steve. And I've got plenty of regrets over it, my boy. That's the bottom line.
This is great, because this push and pull, in a way, reveals what other people won't know, won't know or won't get. So through that we're putting a picture together.
To show
them, look, what this really is like, to feel like, to be like.
Oh, Steve, isn't it interesting that
John, right?
me and you've seen it so many times along the years? A man comes outside the door, a man says something to him, but he doesn't know me and you are listening, right? So a man's mugged him off, called him a name, but on his own, he's kind of didn't know how to answer. But the minute there's somebody else turning around and heard, you know, what did he say, mate? You know, all of a sudden now he wants to front the guy, you know, because he's worried about losing face, because your time in there could be, you know, really hard for you with the bullies and the things that go on in there, Steve, because a lot of the time, you and I both know, a lot of men start on men that are weaker, and to put out a warning note to everybody else for certain things, so that you beat up him, I saw him have a fight there. The game is so, it's got so many elements to it all, Steve. You know, sometimes I wonder if there is a pecking order. But now you get to that stage where the youngsters want to call old gangsters old men and all them kind of things. So in the end, you're only going to get called an old man, no matter what your status was back in the day. You could have been Reggie, Ronnie, everybody, all combined in one. These lot down here now, they don't remember nothing, Steve. They don't really care. So in my view, wanting to become a legend, going down in history, in the long run, nobody really cares, because all they're caring about is the here and now. I've asked certain kids, 20-year-olds, have you heard of him? Have you heard of him? They said, no, I've never heard of him. Who's that? So I mean, Steve, but the dynamics in there are something unheard of, Steve. And when in the midst of the madness, when everybody's like the atmospheres, you can smell it in there when it's about to go wrong, and everybody's thinking, is it me? Is it him? And everybody's watching for everybody else to see who's talking to who, and then they can put the picture in their head who it might be. Remember, it's a small environment, Steve. So you get the people that don't run about, that look over the landings regularly to see who is in the game and who is, where the beef is and who's going to get it next, because a lot of men that have taken lives are always fearful that their lives will be attempted on in prison, Steve. So it don't matter whether they're at ease and they look good and blah, blah, blah.
It comes.
Yep.
It comes with the territory. So Yammy, look, as we come to the end of the interview, where are the solutions for people or children who are coming up, who think this is a good life, or they're going to prosper in this life, or this is a good thing?
The solution, Steve, is to rip up everything that's been going on and start something new for the kids. All right, youth centres, more community projects, more help with education, all that kind of stuff. But the roots of the problem are the home life, Steve. When you're at home, your home life, you've only got your mum, you've got one parent, a couple of sisters, not a lot of money. You know, mum has to go to work, you know, you're struggling. And you feel like, you know, you look around at your school friend and he's doing a bit better than you. It's so easily done, Steve, to set somebody else up on a journey that they never thought they were going to get in those school playgrounds. Because you've got some kids that are really got brothers that are bigger criminals than at the time, and they're learning by watching them when they're young. So the ones that haven't got the bigger brothers or family that are involved in crime, they're going to learn off that kid there. Do you see what I'm saying, Steve? So that's where it all picks up from, because I remember that's how I picked up from. Wasn't no criminals in my family, but there were other criminals with our age group, Steve, with the older lot, which they knew about. So they knew more stuff than me. So the solution, Steve, is up until age 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, they have to be taught early. I know it's an old cliche, Steve, early, not to go to prison and what it actually means. Because you can get what I'm finding now, you can actually, you could work and get all the money you ever dreamed of that you were getting in that life anyway. And just because you're a drug dealer or you think you're shot in and you can build up your money faster than that, you're going to have to pay for that. Because remember, the karma that comes from the drug dealing thing is very bad, Steve, because there's too many effects on people's lives. But the kids, Steve, the solution is to get the bigger villains, the old experienced hands, to go in there one-to-one, talk to them as groups even, but you've got to come with a different kind of message. And my message would be, look at this man, look at that man, see how that ended. It's very easy to show them the amount of deaths and where it comes from and the age thing, Steve, that everybody's falling out at a much younger age to when we was younger. They're not getting to live no life at all, which I think is absolutely appalling, if you want the God's honest truth.
So what was the real turning point for you? You're a typical example, yeah? What was now I know there'd be a few things. You tell us though, what was the thing that made you change?
The human bit you were talking about, Steve, earlier on, we talk about the three voices. You know what you're about to do. You know what harm it's going to cause. You know somebody's going to be upset by burgling, by robbing, and somebody's life's going to be ruined for you. But you push everything aside to get what you want at the time because of the way you felt about yourself, Steve. That feeling sorry when someone's crying, or when you hit someone and they go, don't hit me no more, and I'd walk off because I feel shamed and I won't carry on fighting, Steve, because someone doesn't really want to fight back with me. I always thought that I didn't feel the same strength, Steve, to go out unless it's produced by motivation for something else to get. Do you see what I mean? But, Steve, it was lying down while I was dying, paralyzed, that I spoke. You know, I had words with a big man upstairs. And that human side that was always in me, because a lot of people used to say to me back in the day, Yammy, you're not really cut out for this. So I basically wanted to be a raving lunatic, Steve. All you got to do in there is look at how the lunatics do it, and when everybody's scared of them. So then you know that if you're a lunatic like that, they won't come near you. Do you see what I mean? There's levels of being a nutter. I mean, we've got proper nutters that have got mental health. Not like me and you, have simple issues, if you like, rather than being bipolar, schizophrenic, or, you know, a raving nutter, all lost, never getting out, and that kind of stuff, Steve. So it was that moment there, Steve, and it was that human side, and I thought, what a waste of time. I've got to be harming people that I don't know for stealing and robbing and frightening and going to this one and that one to get one. All the things that go in the field are all bad. So the only thing that can happen in those things is bad's going to come out of it. If we wasn't in there with the mix-up, doing the bad and dealing and trying to be slick and all that, every single thing that is bad brings a bad reaction in the end, Steve. And for me, to make amends, lucky to be alive and all that, my biggest regret. Not saying that I wish I would have harmed all the abusers, Steve, and gone down that road and fought with all the villains instead. My biggest regret was victims of crime, Steve, that didn't do nothing to me because they weren't known to me. I didn't see them or nothing like that, or things like that. But it rankles with me a little bit that because of the way that I was taught, it kind of, you're taking it out basically on people, and I was taking it as an adrenaline rush and getting riches and spending victims' money, Steve.
This is a good explanation. You know, I'm sure a lot of people are going to get a lot from that. So look, you know, as a last question, Yammy, now after all this, what are you doing next? What's going on for you now?
Well, Steve, we've got offers for audio books, of course, which is going to come sooner or later for me. That will be probably a big work ethic for me, away from the channel even. Continue with my YouTube channel to make amends and give back as much as I can so that before, you know, my time's up, others get the real message of the truthful things that happen in there, not some made up jargon and people handing over the copper bits, or scared to give out the last bits that will make them look a bit wrong or a little bit funny. My personal opinion, Steve, is I'm going on with my journey, and I will deliver the gold dust or the diamonds that I know for nothing, basically, and then they can get it off that. Because the insight that you're talking about and painting the picture, these are the things that need to be done with that life, Steve. Because all right, saying, yeah, don't do it, this happened, that happened. But we want to know the mindset, why it gets to that stage, Steve. Do you see what I mean? And this is, for me, right, I'll tell you the biggest thing out of it all, Steve, for me, is that alone, the wasted time, planning on riches and material things, which I don't know more, which I'm surprised, really, Steve, and all the other sordidness and things that go with that life that you think it means that you're part of. Isn't it interesting that I've only been out now 17 months? The longest I've ever been out is 5 months and committed one crime, Steve. Why? Because I don't want it. Why? Because I don't want to harm no one. I don't want nobody's life to be messed up because of me, Steve. This is the artillery that they've got to be put in, the kids, into those situations where they see the knock-on effects and what happens even within their own families. Mum being hurt when they go away, mum not being able to look after themselves when they go away, if they have to go to prison due to the life and the career that they've set themselves up for. You know, you're going to miss a lot of things, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's a wonderful message. And, you know, I can definitely say I know from all the historic stuff just how much you lived in that life, you know, and everything else. And Yeah, did you want to say something?
Sorry, Steve. Yeah, the audio books. I still have got to do my book. I've got to do the audio book to my biography as well, or autobiography, and my audio book works as well. Plus my talks online to schools and community. I mean, young delinquents as well, and my meeting, Steve. I've got to get that up and running now. We've been on some good clean time, not totally off everything completely, you know, Steve, but the hard stuff, yes. You know, so I've got to work on that as well. But in the future, Steve, look out for about 18 months' time where I will be a motivational speaker. That's my end goal.
Yeah, I mean, look, well done with everything, really. You know, I know you're a real advocate, the real thing, right? You know, and I know you have a lot of wisdoms in there, which I know you're going to keep sharing. You're going to, you know, keep trying to improve lives and, you know, take that experience. And that's an admirable thing. So look, you've been on the platform before, Yam. You know, I know you're going to come back another time. And
yeah,
thanks for coming on the platform today, Yam. Thanks for tuning in, guys, to a wonderful new segment of The Big Shift with Stephen Gillen. Make sure to subscribe, go into stephengillen.com and sign up for more wonderful content to expedite, help, and support you on your own personal journey of success.